Allegedly, baby oil is the thing for Diddy. We've already seen a big red flag with the 1,000 bottles allegedly purchased from Costco, and the feds going, "What the hell are you doing with 1,000 bottles of baby oil?" Well, we might know, drugging it, because that's apparently what he's good at. It's not just the vodka anymore. Joining me to discuss, Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. Go press subscribe on that as soon as you're done listening here, and the YouTube channel as well. Baby oil being used to drug people. I haven't heard this one before, but I've heard of like topicals, typically for like, massages, relaxation,
Yeah,
laced with like, CBD or THC or something of that nature. This is a new one.
it definitely is. And it's kind of that missing piece, though, isn't it? It kind of gives you a better understanding of why he had amassed so much of it kind of at one time,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like hoarding it because obviously they were prepping it.
Mm-hmm.
They were prepping it so that he had just kind of this war chest of this just insanely diabolical way to drug
Yeah.
his victims, man. It's like as soon as I like when you kind of read like sent me the show notes, I was like, well, like how quickly does that get in the bloodstream?
Yeah.
Through skin, and I guess probably not as fast as oral, like orally or ingesting it or obviously injecting it, but clearly it works. you know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude, it's this guy. I mean, the more that we hear, the more terrifying of a figure he becomes, really.
It does, and it's starting to make me wonder because you put it into context more. Obviously we've heard accusations about drinks being, spiked and all of that, but this is different, and also, I mean, you can, I guess, dose it. You can dose a drink. I'm not saying anybody was purposely trying to dose themselves on any sort of date rape drug, other than Diddy putting it in there, allegedly, but. When you're putting on a topical or something like that, you don't really have a lot of control on the dosing. I mean, so you could put a lot on you. And if they're using a lot of baby oil, I'm thinking you could really get fucked up really quick and not even necessarily know it. And that's what I'm wondering about with all the individuals involved in these accusations. Not just obviously the victims that we're talking about here, but I'm starting to wonder a little bit about too those that are accused. How drugged up were they, unbeknownst to their own knowledge? And then they ended up participating in these sort of things. I'm not trying to make an excuse or a road out for anybody who was doing horrible behavior, but it does start to make you wonder a little bit. Were they even aware that they were being drugged and then in these situations?
Yeah, and I mean, we can be assured that when those folks start getting indicted, which they will.
Hmm.
I mean, we know when there's the word RICO's thrown out there, that means inevitably more people are going to be drawn into this thing.
Yeah.
You need multiple people in order to have RICO, so it's never just going to be Diddy. But yeah, the question becomes: is that going to be something that the defense is going to use in terms of trying to defend these people, saying, "Look, this wasn't voluntary on their part; they were unwittingly being dosed themselves. They weren't, in their proper mindset. They didn't really have control over their actions. And again, it kind of goes to that question of dosing because that's a great point. When you're slathering this lotion on, how much is that affecting you? I mean, was this a perfected system wherein they knew how much they were putting in, injecting in each bottle? But still, even then, you know, how much is that person putting on? Are they covering their body in it unwittingly,
Hmm.
not having any idea that they're basically creating a situation where they're making themselves subject to being a victim without any knowledge whatsoever?
Yeah.
And the question becomes in terms of the offenders, whether or not that'll be a viable defense.
Hmm.
You know, it's always going to boil down to foreseeability, knowledge, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then it's going to obviously get into kind of the scientific realm in terms of, even if you're incapacitated or you're not in your right mind, are you still able to know right from wrong?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it'll be really interesting, man, to see how this thing shakes out. This story is so huge
It's yeah, I mean, it's beyond
and
huge.
so far reaching, man. It's gonna blow people's minds. I mean, it is mind blowing as it is now. It's
Mhm.
only gonna get bigger.
I mean, when it comes to assault, not rightfully so, but oftentimes a lot of shame comes along with it for the victims. They don't want to talk about it. They feel that somehow it's their fault. Obviously, not true. But it also makes you wonder then too about some of these accusations against some of these celebrities and such, or high-powered people who may have been involved as and being looked at somewhat as the abusers themselves if they were wittingly participating, or if this was all just another piece of Diddy's control over everyone. These people are thinking they're coming in and it's going to be some sort of sexual experience, but even they didn't know. They're just speculating the extent allegedly as to what was going on here. And at the end, it's Diddy watching everybody because that seemed to be his thing. That seems to be his MO, is watching people, from what we've
Big
understood.
voyeur guy.
Very much so. And he's got cameras and he's got everybody drugged up. I mean, in a way, it's kind of turning everybody at the party into zombies to a certain
Yeah,
extent,
sex zombies.
sex zombies basically, and he's sitting there watching it.
Yeah.
It That's like a whole new layer of depravity that I don't think anybody was expecting in this. I think we were thinking, oh, these are really sick celebrities who think they can get away with a lot of stuff. Maybe that's not even the case. Maybe, a lot of these celebrities and high powerful people in their right mind wouldn't have gone to the lengths that they're alleged to have gone to had they not been drugged as well.
Yeah, and ultimately, if they end up getting charged, I mean, you can be assured that that's gonna be exactly what their defense is. I mean, they're gonna be coming at the prosecution with, "Look, they came kinda knowing that this was going to be some kinda consensual sex party, and then it turned into something that wasn't that, and our client was incapable because he was drugged or she was drugged, in terms of being able to consent to certain acts." So, I mean, there's going to be a consent issue if they can prove that they were in fact dosed.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know what
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, that's what's gonna be the thing, and I don't know how you do that. I mean, other than it sounds like there's a hell of a lot of video,
Hmm.
so if
Yeah.
we're gonna see scenes where they're slathering on the oil, if he was, stupid enough to be taping that portion
Hmm.
or videoing all that, like the prep work in terms of, like, pre-freak off,
Yeah.
everybody getting ready, everybody getting all oiled up, or is he just going straight to the action? I mean,
Yeah.
only time will tell that, but,
Yeah.
in terms of the defense lawyers, obviously, they're gonna get all that in discovery.
Hmm.
Man, it's crazy, and it kinda reminds me, I covered this case this week, this, Giselle Pellico, and
Hmm.
it's a French case. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
Okay, so, real brief, you're gonna wanna hear of it after I tell you. So, essentially, woman married to her husband for 50 years, 3 kids, 7 grandchildren. She's in her late 60s, maybe early 70s. Turns out he gets arrested back in 2020 in a shopping, either in a mall or a store, and, where he's trying to take video up women's skirts.
Oh God.
So, that from that they grab all of his devices. It ends up turning out that this guy had been dosing his wife, in her food and in her drinks for a period of 10 years, and then inviting people to the tune of somewhere between 51 and
Yeah.
70 different men to come over with him to rape his incapacitated
I
wife.
have heard about this one. Yeah.
Dude, she had no idea what was going on. Yeah, it's a big story because in France, you have the right to anonymity when you're a victim of sexual assault over there. She waived it.
Hmm.
She wanted to embolden other victims to come forward in cases like this, because it's basically laying her entire life out
Yeah.
for the public to see. And rightfully so, she's being viewed as quite heroic,
Yeah.
and a real advocate for sexual assault victims. It's an incredible story. It's so disturbing, but it has a lot of the same
Hmm.
nuances that Diddy's case has in terms of just how depraved some people are, man. And like in that situation where you have it's a husband who you've
Oh
been
my
married
God.
to for 50 years, man, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I can't imagine at that point in life, right? Like recognizing that and going, "Oh my God, oh my
Oh,
God!" Like your whole life
shattered,
is a joke. I mean, it's
shattered.
just ah. Speaking of someone who's probably looking back on their life, going, "Where did I go wrong?" Diddy's mom. She's still standing by his side, as you know. We've seen mothers stand by serial killers where there's no question that they did it. They've even admitted to it. So it's not shocking that a mom is going to stand by her son. We saw her in court this week, looking rap video ready. Is the way I would describe it. Her dress going into the courtroom. But she also released a statement, and she's calling this a public lynching. It was released through Diddy's attorneys, not independently through her own. So it makes me question right away. Number one, okay, she's on her son's side. Did she really write this statement? Was this from the attorneys that they wrote it? Because it doesn't seem like a very wise statement that was released.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that that was penned by some attorneys.
Hmm.
You know, they're not doing anything without lawyers at this point. So, and she's certainly not just popping off without lawyers looking at any statement,
Hmm.
and more likely than not drafting the statements. That doesn't mean that that's not how she feels. She might feel that way, you know, but obviously trying to inject the race card into a situation where I don't really think race has anything to do with this.
No, not at
You know,
all.
this is about money and power and depravity, you know, and then like this, he was just one of the most, he's like, it's going to turn out that he's one of the most depraved people I've ever heard of.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, like the number of victims in this is going to be staggering.
yeah,
You know, I mean, what like when did this guy have time to work?
exactly. Well, it explains why his rap really sucked for most of his career. Like, he was
Right.
just kind of showing up little pieces on albums. I like this. Hang on, I got to get back to drug some more baby oil. You know, just
Yeah, I got
enough to
some
lay a
freak
line.
offs to get to, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm busy. Yeah, you know, but it's not surprising, as you said. I mean, mothers are typically going to always back their kid, and you know, I mean, obviously, there's this concept of willful blindness. You know, when it comes to your own, and you know, it's you know, the sad reality is that her life has been shattered as well.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, like whether not saying in any way, shape, or form that she had any part in any of it,
Sure.
but you know, you have this impression of your child who's made it the way that he had made it. You know, you're walking around with your chest puffed out, like this is amazing. Like
Yeah.
you're the proudest parent in the world, and then that gets shattered overnight. But you know, it wasn't even overnight. Like they knew,
Hmm.
you know, when the lawsuits started coming out, like she had to, you know, but he's probably going there denying everything to her, you
True.
know, the same way he was denying it publicly. He's not going to go confess all of his sins to his mother, you know. So whatever story she's been told, she's you know, if she is truly in the mindset that look, this is you know, this is a witch hunt and it's all bullshit and they're trying to come after him because he's a kingmaker and you know, they don't want black guys having that much power and money. You know, if that's her mindset, I think when the evidence starts coming out, it's going to be a rude awakening for her. You know, in the sense that it's just it's gonna shatter everything that she ever thought about her son.
If she's able to comprehend it, if she's able to process that. I think sometimes, our minds allow us to not have to do that because it is just so much to take on. And it's not just taking on this information that your son was involved in all these things uh behind the scenes as an adult doing horrible behavior, not that you would know about it. It's his sex life, his private life, whatever. But to know that he's been lying to your face for all those years when asked, like, is this true, is this happening? I mean, assuming that he's been telling her that it's all made up and it's all lies. But that would be another giant jolt for mom right there, not just accepting that this shit is going on, but like, oh, he's been lying to me too. Someone who's like one of the last people to still stay there and have his back. That's another very strong jolt. I don't know that she's ever going to truly accept that, but that would be shocking if she did. The other problem with this is she could be called to the stand as a witness for either the prosecution or the defense. There's nothing stopping that from happening. It's not a spouse. Of course, she could
Right.
plead the fifth, but she could be called up there. And
No,
again, who
no.
knows? I mean, I'm not saying she knew any of this, had any knowledge. She's an innocent woman, never been charged with anything. But if she does have knowledge of things, if they can show that she had knowledge of some things, there could be some deals made where it's like, look, you're going to be a witness for the prosecution, or we're going to charge you. I think the exact
Yeah,
same thing could happen with the kids as well.
no question. Like I think the kids are in serious peril. Like
Yeah.
I think that they've been sniffing around the kids.
Hmm.
As far as the mother goes, it's and again, like you said, like I'm not insinuating that
Hmm.
she had any part in it, but it's hard to believe that as close knit as this family was, that
Yeah.
she had to she that she had no knowledge of any of it going on. I mean, like this was just a constant occurrence that was happening. And like, I don't know where she lived in proximity to him. I don't know how often she was on the properties. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, a lot of times when you look at, you know, if you go back and look at Notorious B.I.G., I mean, he was super tight with his mother.
Yeah.
Like his mother was his hero. His
Hmm.
mother was a single mother. His mother always had his back. I mean, she basically was running his career
Hmm.
at certain points, and until it kind of outgrew her. But she was always his ride or die.
Yeah.
So it's like that relationship in terms of what he told her or what he didn't tell her is going to have to be probed by the feds, and they're certainly going to come at her in terms of trying to get information. It's kind of the same thing that we've been talking about as we've started like delving into this case. It's every single person that is sucked into the fold by the feds is going to be used as somebody who can provide information in exchange for lessening the time that they're looking at. I mean, that's just how the feds operate. Like I said, you know, this is unusual in the sense that they got the big fish first.
Yeah.
Usually they have to work their way up that chain to get them. And like in this situation, it gives the feds so much leverage
Hmm.
because they're not necessarily now they could focus on just getting all of the bad guys instead of working their way up the bad guy chain
Hmm.
in the chase of getting the biggest bad guy.
Yeah.
They've already got him
Hmm.
theoretically.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see anybody above him. So, that gives them free reign to just go after everybody
Hmm.
and gives them free reign to make whatever deals they want to make in terms of getting information. I mean, whereas they're somewhat hamstrung a little bit in situations where they've got people that they've brought in and indicted where they're trying to get them information. They're doing proffers with them. They're saying, all right, look, you better tell us what's up here or you're going down for an extended period of time.
Hmm.
If you help us, we'll knock a lot of that off.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or not charge you at all. But all that's going to be within their discretion. And what I'm saying is because they've got their primary target, that gives them all kinds of room to work in terms of trying to get as many people sucked into this web
Yeah.
as possible.
And there's willful ignorance, probably a lot of it that went on within the family of Diddy, as we speculate on this. I mean, it's easy to overlook things when you have that kind of money and wealth
That's
and
right.
power just at your disposal. And I'm guessing that those close to him pretty much could get anything, do anything they wanted, and the last thing they wanted was for that ride to end. So while
100%.
while they may not have been necessarily participating, hopefully not, in some of the stuff that Diddy was doing, uh, one could look at that probably in some cases and go, how did you not see that going on? But that's where the
Right.
willful ignorance comes in. Whereas maybe a reasonable person that doesn't have access to all that could look at this on the outside going, well, that's pretty obvious. That's right in front of you. But if you're just kind of tuning it out to take advantage of all the goods, yeah, it's somewhat easier to understand why one may just go, well, he does this thing over here. I don't need to know about it. And I'm
Right.
going to stay over in this corner.
Which is exactly what was happening. I mean, there's going to be no question that there's going to be that ultimately you're culpable
Hmm.
to a certain extent. I mean, like whether or not they're going to be culpable by way of the criminal process is unknown, but they're certainly going to be culpable through the civil process. And it just depends. It depends on what they knew. It depends on what they could have done. in terms of stopping it from happening. And if their choice was money over people's safety and well-being, and they've allowed people to become victims of this guy knowing that it was going on, because we're talking about different people
Yeah.
than the people that were literally, you know injecting the whatever they
Yeah.
were putting in the baby oil, or the ones that were procuring the sex workers to come in and procuring just all the people, or kids trying to come up making careers for themselves. Like, again, it's like there's so many cases, and we have the whole Menudo thing with Menendez
Yeah.
coming down, and it was the same thing. You have these guys that are kingmakers that you into a star.
Mhm.
That's a huge amount of power to have over somebody, and you know, it, it's the whole thing is so sick, man.
Yeah.
It's like, and people are susceptible to it.
Yeah.
It's like we just live in a world where, everybody's running and chasing the money, and everybody's running and chasing the fame, and people just check their morals and their common sense at the door sometimes, in the chase, and it's unfortunate. And and when you have a monster that's taking advantage of that, knowing that that's how people are, that's what makes them the worst of the worst. That's why you punish those in power that have that kind of stranglehold over people, in terms of being able to affect their lives in such profound ways, that those are the people you really want to hammer,
Yeah.
because just abusing the power like that is unforgivable.
Yeah. I agree. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.